stage? Okay. So we're ready to go with the Adblocker panel. So please, everybody, take a seat and we go on. Ja, vielen Dank für das Adblocker Panel, für den Besuch hier. Wir haben 5 deutsche Gäste, einen amerikanischen Gast. Deswegen machen wir das mostly in English. So if we switch from time to time, we are allowed to switch. If it's getting too emotional, so we can yell at us in German. So we have several guests here today. We have Thomas Duhr from BVDW in IP. We have Jan Möllendorf von defacto X. Wir haben Barokas von Sourcepoint hier. Thomas Strerath von Jung von Matt, den Christian Bennefeld von eBlocker und Christian Dommers von Eyeo Adblock Plus. So I would like to ask that everybody introduce himself for just a few seconds about the company, maybe otherwise about the position and what he's heading. So I would like to start with Thomas as the first one.
Okay. Hello together. Well, my name is Thomas Duhr. In my real life, I'm Executive Vice President within IP Germany. So it's stellvertretender Geschäftsleiter in Deutsch. But that's not the function I'm here for. So I'm here for BVDW. Within BVDW, I'm within the board Vice President, especially for data and technology. So I think that's the reason why can be here on this panel.
Ja, mein Name ist Jan Möllendorf von defacto X, alte CM-Bude, die durch die Akquisition von D3 Media vor 2 Jahren hier zu der Branche dazugewachsen ist. Das ist mein Hauptgeschäft. Mein Nebengeschäft ist, dass ich mich im DDV, ein anderer Verband, der sich auch um Unternehmen der Werbebranche kümmert, dass ich mich da engagiere. Ja, soweit dazu. Das reicht, glaube ich, erstmal.
Thomas Strerath from Jung von Matt. I think I had just a watch through the list of participants from this event. I think I'm the alien beside Jan. So I think I'm one of the, I think 3 or 5 person from an advertising agency. Jung von Matt has been, maybe the most creative agency, but still we are a global digital lead agency for BMW or for Lufthansa. So not only the field where you expect us in TV advertising.
If you are the alien, who am I? I'm Chris.
Monster.
I'm Christian, head of business development from Eyeo GmbH, the provider of Adblock Plus, which is the world's most downloaded extension for browsers. And yeah, happy to be here.
My name is Benjamin Barokas. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of Sourcepoint, which is a publisher-side content compensation platform.
Yeah, hi. My name is Christian, and I first of all want to thank the organizers for inviting me here and having me here. Thank you so much. In my chest, there are 2 hearts pounding, actually. One heart is for every one of you and the data we are all aggregating, since I founded a tracking service 16 years ago called eTracker, based out of Hamburg here. And 3 years ago, I left the company to found something else, eBlocker, which is basically the opposite. Now we are helping the end consumer not to get tracked by providing a small hardware that easily connects to a home network. And once it's connected, all the devices are protected by the eBlocker, and the user can surf anonymously and ad-free because all ads are tracking. That's what I'm here for, and I'm happy to discuss the topic.
Okay, thank you, perfect. So basically, ad blocking is a big success story. It's growing very quickly in the market. So ad blocking software grew 41% in the last 12 months, nearly 200 million active adblock users around the world. And we are losing several billions in revenue. Depends on what data you're looking and what numbers you're looking. Differs from 2 billion to 20 billion revenue we are losing. So it's still a big threat, a big success story for the ad blockers and for the users, but not for the people in the market. So Thomas, OVK still has growing numbers for the revenue of all the publishers. Is it still a threat, or is it just something we can just compensate in other ways?
Well, looking at the market, yes. If you understand that you're losing money it is a threat, and you're really losing money. And the numbers are around 20% in Germany. So you can calculate it. So it's a risk, at least a risk of 20% losing revenue. So it's a threat. That's the first thing you can say. On the other hand, we really have to see that we can't get away from this issue. So ad blockers are there, will be there, and we have heard that more is to come. That what e-blockers, or especially around tracking blockers, will do with the market. And so from the market perspective, we have to deal with that, and we have to look for different solutions. And the headline of this session is really bringing it to the point. We have to fight it, we have to work with it, but we can't ignore it because it's a threat for this really growing piece of the digital economy in Germany.
I saw a number that every of the publishers in the German market, every over-cover market is losing about 10 million revenue every year, just due to the ad blocker. That's something that's reasonable from a perspective from the revenue.
I don't think you can really calculate it that way, where one can say, okay, you have 1.5 billion revenues in digital advertising in the market, and yet then you can calculate 20% down. Then it would be 300 million. Well, okay, this is potentially the risk that you have in this game. Nevertheless, there are lots of technical solutions people are working on, how to find workarounds around special solutions from some players in the ad blocking segment, especially name it Adblock Plus, to find workarounds on that. I think Barokas with Sourcepoint has developed a kind of an alternative solution. There are also other players in the market that have developed alternative solutions. So the risk is not any longer around 300 million, but there still is a risk. Beneath that, there are the solutions that you can see with Axel Springer or that you can see with the media group RTL, that try to find different solutions in educating the user, how to use Adblocker or not.
So from my point of view, the threat is even bigger than you can't calculate it. And that's something which I think about all the time discussing this topic, because the threat is that people hate, that users start to hate advertising by having these retargeting ads and so on, and that we don't take care about this issue. We threat more than just some 100 millions of the publishers, which is quite a money, and of course is a threat for the business model. But at the end, it's the whole industry who is threatened by this. That's perhaps a topic which we should think about. It's not only about fighting and having some technical issues to solve this, because it's like in a war. Yeah, one has the better weapon, and then the other will have the better weapon, and at the end, we don't solve the issue, and we don't solve the problem which led to these ad blocking issue.
Right, and I think the thing that solves the problem in general is creating transparency. I think between publishers and users, there needs to be a transaction that both understand that there is a trade. There is a trade for content, for advertising, or a trade for content, for subscription. But that trade is not transparent in our industry. And publishers need to have conversations with users, and users need to provide feedback to publishers. And once that happens, we can create a sustainable ecosystem. When the ecosystem continues to, as you say, escalate the war with more tracking and more data without the user's knowledge, then this becomes a problem. But once everything is transparent and they know how the transaction is occurring and know what they're trading, then everyone wins.
But maybe, because you asked for a threat, so you're talking about a problem, maybe it isn't. Yeah, from my perspective, ad blockers are the best thing that could happen to the industry. Yeah, because why are people blocking ads? Yeah, is it because they don't like commercial information, or is it because they didn't understand the business model and they need transparency? No, I think I agree more, I go more in the direction that you're telling. Most of the advertising that we give to people is just crap. Yeah, we're all working in an advertising industry, and most of you are using ad blockers as well. So we create things that we hate ourselves. Yeah? And that, I think, that is ad blockers, is giving the people a user experience, which is great. Yeah? So they have better download times, they are not stocked with information they don't want. The round before us was talking about the data. I don't know what all you guys are doing with the data, because the experience that I have is that you don't know anything about me. Yeah? And whatever you're doing with the data, but you're not servicing me. And so we think that the more people are blocking advertising, there is more place in the business model for agency, of course, like us, like ourselves, so found ways that people like advertising and they love advertising and they used to love advertising. So people are sharing advertising if it's done well. So advertising needs to be, whether it's really entertaining to people and giving added value, or it's servicing people and giving support in things they look for or they want to buy or they want to do in their life. So it's servicing. But most of the advertising isn't entertaining or isn't servicing. It's just boring. It's just, I want to get my message through. And then the publishers or the advertisers talk about, is it 20% that we lose or 30% that we lose, instead of rethink the whole model. Yeah? And so I think, let's go now not from the advertiser point, but from the publisher's point. The ad blockers are giving a user experience that the publishers should give to the end consumer. For example, if you take a Vogue or a Harper's Bazaar magazine, imagine a Harper's Bazaar magazine without advertising. People wouldn't buy it, because the first 40 pages of a Vogue magazine is just advertising. You want the advertising in the magazine, actually. And you cannot, if you, for example, if you are Aldi or if you are Tesco, you cannot advertise in Harper's Bazaar. You're just not allowed to. We work for Ligne Rosé, a furniture producer. They cannot advertise in Wallpaper magazine, because Wallpaper magazine says, no, your advertising does not fit to the user experience we want to give to our end consumers.
But the ad blocker doesn't care.
What?
The ad blocker doesn't care. The ad blocker doesn't care that you're in Wallpaper or you're in Dwell or you're having a beautiful experience. You're absolutely right. I mean, and I wanted to make the point that the ad blocker is a dumb tool for creating that transaction with the user. Everyone wants the Ligne Rosé, everyone wants the Scavolini, everyone wants the Patrona Frau in that magazine. But the ad blocker doesn't care. The ad blocker takes all of that advertising out from a standardized perspective. What you put in those magazines, a full page, a half page, or a 728 by 90, the ad blocker takes all of that without leaving the beautiful experiences that people want. And so those magazines without that advertising is 10 times more expensive. No one would pay, like you said. So without having the conversation, none of the good content that you advertise around will exist. That goes away.
Yeah, but if you talk to people, for example, from very premium publisher like the New York Times or The Economist, they now really rethink if they should give their inventory away and let other people decide who can advertise around their content, because they see that the whole user experience, it doesn't matter if the paper magazine or it's an online thing, or even it's becoming even more difficult on a mobile device, which user experience I have if I allow anybody to advertise around my content, because then the user experience is dominated by someone else, and I give up the user experience or the brand experience to someone else. And I think, I don't care what ad blockers care about, yeah? But I think the ad blockers make an eye-opener to the industry, how we advertise to people. And maybe that is, again, the end of this. It's just about reach and contacts, but about more the whole user experience that I give to someone. And I think the ad blockers, in the different ways that you provide your services, are an eye-opener to that, because you give a better user experience to end consumers, and that is why we all use it. I think everybody of us here in the room, at least I would assume 50–60% are using ad blockers.
I think from a user experience, it's great. I'm also a user, and I love if I have no ads. It's awesome. But there was a research from Adblock Plus that about 70% of your users would turn off the ad blocker if the ads would be more looking nice or more attractable to the user. Is it true? Is it that easy? We just make better advertising and then they turn off the ad blockers again?
Sure. We have a very high acceptance rate of our whitelist program. So we have less than 10% opt-outs of the whitelist. So by default, you get the whitelist enabled, and people have the choice. We educate them about this compromise. We tell them, hey, you can have this compromise, you can have some ads, and give publishers a chance to monetize. And a large majority of people are accepting that, and only 9% or so are opting out of that. So yes, people are willing to see advertising. People understand that this is necessary to support free content, and still, are willing to support that with their attention.
So what have the advertisers to do to be on the acceptable ads list?
The advertisers have to create acceptable ads, which are not annoying, which are not animated, which are not flying through the screen, which are not interrupting users' reading flow, which are not keeping me back from consuming my content that I want to see, that I want to read. It's actually quite simple to stick to those guidelines.
And how does that work for video?
It's a video only with text.
It doesn't work for video.
And so you're saying that video ads are not acceptable, especially in front of video content?
Not at the moment.
So how is a publisher supposed to pay for the content that they produce?
There are ways of monetizing that. We're still working on solutions together with our users and participants from the industry to find alternatives to that. But it's not happening overnight, because you have to talk to and work with many stakeholders.
Wait, how many years old is Eyeo and Adblock Plus? How many years have you been around?
Eyeo was founded in 2011, and Acceptable Ads is around 2012 we started with that.
Anything you can tell about the solution for acceptable video ads, or just an idea you will tell us next year?
So first, maybe I have to add another point, because you're laughing at me. So it's video advertising and animated advertising is the #1 reason for people to install ad blockers. It's because they are annoyed. They want to see a YouTube video without having the 30 seconds pre-roll ad, and that's just a very annoying pain point for people and motivates them to install an ad blocker. So we have to be very careful with finding a compromise, with balancing out the users' needs and the needs of the publishers. This is why it cannot happen overnight. So and it can take years, yes?
Yeah, no, I think that the solution is really about having the conversation with the user, between the user and the publisher. It's not for a third party to make that decision for them. And your definition, or an Eyeo, not you, I don't mean to attack you. Just the definition of acceptable ads is different for every person, is not the same. And some people that have lots of bandwidth, they don't mind 5, 10, 15-second video ad before 30 minutes of video content. It's perfectly reasonable, but that's at a user basis. And everyone should be able to not have ads entirely.
Yeah, but don't you
if
think
you want to have no ads, then it's okay, you can pay for content. I think Thomas is okay with accepting users' money instead of forcing people to consume advertising. It's everyone's right to make a choice.
Yeah,
but having other people make choices for them is something.
I mean, they made the choice. No? They installed the ad blocker, so they made they choice already. No?
The choice not to pay.
And they make also additional choices, and this goes in line with what you said before, Thomas. We have a lot of people whitelisting their favorite YouTube channels, for example. They have the private whitelists, and some of them want to support their providers of content, and they just do single whitelistings for their own, and they're okay with seeing those ads because they know I support my favorite YouTuber with that.
Yeah, and I think I think in the end, it's, we're agreeing then, maybe from different perspective, but what you say then is that maybe the publishers should rethink how they offer their content to the end consumer, yeah? Because what happened of the ad blockers. And one example, take the video, take it away from online, but go to TV. So there's pay TV and free TV, yeah? And the model is that even if you're on pay TV, you see ads. And I don't know why exactly, but I see the same ads on pay TV than I see on free TV. Yeah? And shouldn't there be a choice for myself to say, I give you €5 more a month, so I avoid the ads? Or could it be premium ads? Yeah, like maybe like a Super Bowl idea, like really ads you would love to see on it. But that, at the moment, the publishers, I would say, and I take TV broadcasters in the same bucket, they are too lazy, yeah, to think different models they offer a consumer. Because what ad blockers are doing, they are offering different models. So you can block, you can whitelist, and so on. And that is a good user experience. And they would, of course, they would develop for moving pictures, you know, or for videos. They will have models, and the next time we sit down here, yeah. But they are providing something that I think the publishers and the broadcasters and the advertisers should provide in the first place. Yeah.
And that goes. I'm sorry. That goes to creating a standard. I mean, I think the standards are the key part of the equation, and having a technology protocol that transfers information around compensation between publisher, user, and advertising ecosystem. And so just as in 2007, so previously I started a company called AdMeld, and we helped to develop the real-time bidding standard that became sort of the infrastructure for programmatic advertising. We will be continuing, and now with Sourcepoint, looking at creating a standard that broadcasts the protocol of which how publishers and users are compensating one another for the content.
So the standards are absolutely the point. No? From my point of view, the industry, the whole industry, we bothered too long bashing Eyeo for their business model instead of accepting what the consumers want, and then think about how could we help actually Adblock Plus to be the tool for all of us. Instead of that, we spend a hell of a money on lawyers and bashed them. Last year, for those who were upstairs, it was really a pure bashing of defacto and nothing more. No serious discussion about the phenomenon of ad blocking and the users. And because perhaps we should start this now. Come to standards and think about what the users want, and think about perhaps how we help Eyeo to be a tool for the whole industry instead of bashing them.
Yeah, well, I totally agree what you said is, and we talked about that last night, Ben and I, even though we are looking at it from a different side of the fence, let's say, our perspective is to give control of what the user wants into the hands of the user, and giving the back transparency of what's going on really in the advertising industry. Nowadays, people like the publishers claim, oh, you know, ad blockers are harming our business, but we don't understand why are users actually installing ad blockers. It's because of lack of transparency. It's not the deal anymore. Your guys are claiming that, oh, you got to look at some ads and maybe click on those ads and you get free content. That's a big lie. You're not being transparent to the user. And well, actually, we are sitting all here because of data. So that's what we are actually collecting from each user seeing those ads, and I think we should be more transparent. And we don't block any ads that are not tracking, for example. So we are not in the case that we are actually trying to harm the publishers. We are giving the choice back to the user whether they want to go into the deal of revealing their data and getting content back for their data. But it's not about viewing some ads, it's far deeper, and that's why we are sitting all in this room, because it's about user profiling. And that's a new thing coming up from our perspective, seeing how much traction our company is getting, and we just started with what we're doing. There's a huge need out there for privacy. And people don't think about privacy. Here at the panel, I'm missing that point very much. It's about transparency and telling the user exactly what he is actually giving out in terms of what he gets in exchange.
I think it's also about privacy, but it's not only about privacy. So if I see that 44% of all 16 to 18-year-olds are using Adblocker, they don't care about privacy. They want to have a fast user experience, they want to block ads, they don't want to waste their data plan on their mobile phone, they don't care about privacy and the data collection. For them, it's just seeing the website with all the ads to have a better user experience.
Yeah, that's
Well,
correct.
this might be a special situation in Germany. So looking at the numbers in US, I think that you already see. So half of the people are using ad blockers because of ad delivery, and the other half of the people are using ad blockers, especially because that masses of third-party trackers that are around there. So one can use Ghostery, and you can see when you're visiting a US-based publishing site, you have more than 100. In average, you have more than 100 third-party trackers running around there. And so this is not the situation we already have in Germany. That's perhaps the reason why it's not that in the mindset of the people here, sitting here, or the discussion has not gone there now, or till now. But I agree with you, it is an issue. But I'm somewhat wondering around something you've said. You said it's a topic of the advertiser, and the advertiser. So the advertiser is sitting here with Thomas Strerath, who's creating the ads. But I can't remember that Eyeo ever has tried to educate advertisers. Unfortunately, the business model is completely in a different direction. It's a punishing business model towards the publishers, and that what you're really pronouncing as a solution, the acceptable ad, from that what I know, isn't anything that really is an acceptable ad from the advertiser's perspective. Can you really explain that
Sure.
to me?
So first of all, we are educating advertisers. We have been educating them for about 5 years. We are in constant exchange with media agencies. We go to events in London at the ISPA, and we try to reach out and to educate them about the problem. But the thing is, they are not even aware of it. They don't see a need. They don't see,
They don't see the engagement from JPEGs and GIFs enough to pay for €10 CPM in order to pay for high quality content.
There's still a situation where they can deliver high profile campaigns without loss of inventory. So ad blocking is not taking away enough from their chances to reach the audience they want to reach. That's, I think, one problem. But once that situation would change, we have to find a solution there. And it's now the publishers are the ones who suffer the most from the situation. So naturally, those are the parties we talk to mostly. But of course, we try to reach out to advertisers.
But the way you're talking to the publishers are a little bit, you can criticize it. So there are some issues around that, the way you're talking with the publishers. So I really try to understand what you're claiming here. So is it your approach that Eyeo or other ad blocker providers should go together with the publishers to the advertisers and explain them what they really have to do, explain to them what they really have to do in the future? That we really, so from the publisher perspective, one issue is load numbers. So there are specifications that one ad should only have 60 kilobytes. Unfortunately, there are not that many ads that come to us that really reach this volume. Most of them are double or more. So it's a load issue. So what's your approach there? Shall we go forward and edutain the advertisers together?
Sure. I think you have to. You are a publisher. You have to go to your clients and tell them, hey, please give me some other formats. Give me formats who need less data volume, who perform faster, who perform better, and let's talk about new ways of reaching your audience. We can only assist with that, and we do this. We have the acceptable ad board. We're now discussing with multiple stakeholders from all over the industry about changing the criteria or making them more open, more transparent, and we assist with that. But it's a market between publishers and advertisers, and
okay, then it's quite simple. I mean, there's not so much we have to do, basically. Last year, I think we had a bigger fight because upstairs we had more publishers talking to you. This year, it's a more diverse round. But then the only thing is we have to make advertisement that looks a little bit better, and we just have to educate the users, and everybody will turn off the ad blocker.
And all of the advertisers will continue to pay the same exact CPM for half of the engagement rate or 1/10 of the engagement rate that they had before. I mean,
then it's much easier than I thought before.
It makes perfect sense.
A good starting point for everything is to think about what the user wants to have. That's a good starting point. And if I have a business model like a publisher, it's not Eyeo the problem. It's my business model and the users of my business model. And I shouldn't spend too much time on bashing Eyeo. I should think about my business model from my point of view. As an owner of a company, I start to think about my business model first and don't go up to other people and ask them what I should do with my business model. So start thinking from the user. It would be for me the first point.
For sure, and the user
as a publisher is too small. From my point of view, of course, one publisher is too small. So we have, as an industry, you think about what does a user want, and perhaps you have to talk as an industry on a, let's say, serious level to Eyeo and others to think about what should we do now with this issue.
I mean, Eyeo nearly the good ones in the market. There are much more worse companies now looking up, like Shine in the US or other companies. They don't have acceptable ads, and some of them starting already on a carrier or network level, like Three or Vodafone thinking about it, the other carriers thinking about installing ad blockers on a network level. I mean, when we do with all the advertisement and how we make it look nicer when it's blocked already up front.
Yeah, but there you see already, with your question, you see that it's not a discussion that we can have nor by bashing, and nor by, let's say, having a kilobyte discussion, because bandwidth and all that will make that video look so old school if you see it in 1 year or 2 years, because we will have the same thing there. There have been ad blockers for more than 50 years. Ad blockers and TV consumption are two legs, but we did not measure it. People went away from the TV screen in the living room because they found the break, for an advertising break, so boring, but we didn't measure it, and so advertisers didn't care. Now we have the problem that there is a new mid-layer, the ad blockers, and I really, if I go to Jan, if the industry understands that today digitalization means the consumption of commercial information, of advertising, has to be voluntarily. People need to do it on their own. They need to be, doesn't matter if the transparency is about content for advertising eyeballs or content for data, but they have to do it on their own. And if that is the case, we will not have ad blocker companies on this stage again in 3 years, if we understand. So this is just like a problem because of that advertisers and advertising agencies and your industry is not really taking care of what Jan is proposing, take the consumer first. And that is what I said, what publishers and broadcasters just gave away, the whole user experience. They just focused on their product. They say, my content is so brilliant, everybody needs to see. But they don't see, beside the content, that they have a user experience in the way they deliver the content to people. And if they don't care, you take care of it. And that is a problem, or not, for me, the good problem that we're discussing.
So if I take your Vogue example, when I take the Vogue at the airport, or I'm buying it at the airport, I'm skipping the first 20 pages because I don't want to see the ads, I just want to see the content. So I'm also blocking it on the Vogue. The good for the newspaper is that they cannot measure it and nothing is measured and they just still sell it. But everything here it's blocked and it's really measured that no one is delivering something. I think it's not so easy just to change everything and just to make it a little bit nicer and educate the user to really have a better experience and everything will change.
But if you take the magazines, that's a business model which grew by 50 years or so. So the Vogue has a selling price and you buy it for €7 or €8, so you enter the business model already with paying for it, and then the whole business model works over years now. And the thing is that the other models, they are just quite young from my point of view, and we have to find ways, like BVDW did, for example. They have a strong brand, so they can do what they did. And the others, they have to think for other models, for example. So the business model as such is not, you can't compare it from my point of view at the moment.
So we also have to change and adapt quickly, yeah? To really make it happen. I mean, Ben, you have something that's like a combined business model for publisher. Will
That's
it be
exactly
the future?
I mean, I think we need to offer every user the choice on how they want to pay for the content. On an individual user level, you can say, I want standard advertising and give no data. Maybe I want customized advertising and give a little bit of data. Maybe I want no advertising and I want to pay directly for the content. And maybe I pay for that content with one article or one video or one podcast, and that should be my choice. But as a software industry, we have to make that easier on an individual user-by-user basis. We can't allow for some set of companies to decide for the user. We have to give the power to the individual user, and they can decide what they want to pay money for and what they want the advertiser to subsidize. When we get to that point, then we will have a solution to the problem, and we will have a sustainable media ecosystem that we won't even be talking about ad blocking. We will talk about how do we opt in to pay for content. And I think that's where we all need to get to. And mostly, I think we all agree. I think people want the rich content that we have online today. They want the distribution of digital content, but they also want the ability to pay for it how they want to. And so when you go to the store, you have the opportunity to pay with cash or to pay with card. Just as you go to any content creator, any publisher, you should have the ability to pay with advertising or pay with currency. And so this is really where how we solve the problem.
Okay, then we just have to make it easy and comfortable for the user, because if you're on a mobile device and you have to log in before you can read an article that has about 20 sentences, it doesn't make sense to really stay. You go somewhere else.
It's your thumbprint.
You have to make it easy. Okay, we already reached our limit, so one sentence for everybody as a closing round. So when I look back at the last 2 years of the panel, the first year was more about ignoring ad blockers. It's not really an issue. It's not affecting us. Last year was more of a fight. So we had a lot of legal claims, legal issues, a lot of companies, publishers trying to prohibit ad blockers. That didn't really went well. So I think we need a new approach. So if we sit here next year again on the Adblocker panel, what will be the situation and what we have to do in the next 12 months to be there? Thomas.
Well, I think there really is development in the market. You see Sourcepoint here. You've mentioned this Shine issue that won't come to Germany because of net neutrality topics. Nevertheless, you will see more publishers and more broadcasters really having been in interaction with the user, and really have explained to the user the deal about using content. So there is the one solution, free content for advertising, free, or there is content for paying money. There might be some solutions in beyond. We've experienced, especially at IP Germany, that users accept really accept our approach to deinstall the ad blockers if we're delivering less quality, especially in the video segment. But there will be education on that relationship between publishers and users, and that's what the industry is going to work on. It already has started in the US, and I will see the same situation for Europe and for Germany, that we really go as publishers and broadcasters have gone towards the user and have explained to him what he should do and what he shouldn't do.
Okay, Jan?
So if we get as mature as we got from last year to this year, perhaps we discuss next year here features of the ad blockers who we want to have. and perhaps we have accepted then ad blockers as a part of the ecosystem. That would be great.
Okay. Thomas?
Yeah, I would recommend that you invite more agencies to that, like the online rockstars did, yeah, so that we have more participants of the business model in the room. The second thing, I think it's a bit the same. I think we're talking about ad blocking as a service. Could come from players like you guys, but could come from the publishers as well.
I'm really happy to be here in a very constructive atmosphere. It's definitely changed.
We bashed you the last 3 years, so we decided to stop this year.
And I'm also very happy about the consensus about the fact that we have to come close between users' choice and advertisers' needs and publishers' needs. And that's something I really like, and it's cool to see.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I think to the gentleman's point from the agency, it'll be very interesting to have more advertisers involved and understand how they want to subsidize content. And I think we're all going to get to the point where choice and transparency is going to solve this problem. And the closer we can get to creating standards around how that's defined, the faster we will solve the issue of compensation of content.
Yeah, well, I think the ad blocking problem will still be rising in the next years since, people are annoyed by ads. I don't know whether we should wait until your technology comes out and has broader acceptance, but the user today, there are other users, there are those Werbeverweigerer, those people who don't like ads at all, but there are others who don't want to harm their privacy, and I think those are rising still, and especially those having their privacy in mind, that's where we get some traction, that's what I said, are not accepting the model today because there's no transparency. And I think we should work on what Ben actually proposed, is more transparency, what's actually happening besides of playing out ads to the end consumer, is what happens to the data. Since lots of people walking up to us, that they are all afraid and say like, oh, I'm followed by ads, I don't know what's going on, but I'm scared. So it's not really from a perspective, I hate ads, it's more from a perspective, oh, there is an invasion into my privacy and I'm not accepting this anymore. And I think both parties, like the ad blocking parties and the privacy parties, they're on the rise still. And we need a solution. I don't know whether we need a standard, but we need a solution in terms of transparency to the user, but the user has the choice how he wants to pay. I totally agree with that manner, but I don't think we need a standard. That makes it always easier, but it will take years for a standard to actually be accepted in the industry and from the user side as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a development. So I think that next year ad blockers will be still there, will be still in the market. I think it will get worse, especially for mobile and video ads. It's still an issue next year. But thank you everybody for being here, for watching this panel, and now have a good lunch break and see you after the break. Thank you.